use, which is when we have purchased at West Side or Shoppers Stop, take the clothes back home, and what do we do with it? So here comes the chemical detergents. We wash them with a lot of chemical detergents, and then we wash them in a heated cycle, at 40 degrees, 50 degrees in the washing machine. These washing machines use a lot of water, which is not the case if we were washing it by hand in a bucket. And drying and ironing, all of these require energy consumption. And interestingly, now companies are also encouraging consumers to decrease this energy utilization in the consumption or use phase. So, for example, in Australia, Target has these placards which are placed on the checkout counter, which remind the consumers that go back home and try to wash your clothes at 30 degrees, which requires less energy, and try to line dry instead of drying in the machine, like how we do, but it is not very common abroad. So just tie ropes and dry them out in the sun. And finally, disposal. Amount of textile which goes to landfill, which is unimaginably huge, and most of these are made of material like synthetics, like polyester, nylon, which are not biodegradable, and they just sit in the landfill for hundreds of years, leaching chemicals, leaching dyes, and other kinds of materials, turning into microplastics and polluting groundwater as well as the soil. So early disposal. So if I'm going to H&M, which is bringing out clothes 20 times a year, and I buy it for not as much as I would have bought it 20 years back, because they are all trying to sell cheaper and cheaper because to be competitive. So obviously, if I have already bought something and I'm so conscious and I want to be visible on social media, and I'm a YouTuber, then I don't want to be seen in the same clothes more than once. So I will wear my clothes once and I will throw it out. And then since it is so very, very cheap, I will buy again and I will throw that out, after one or two uses. So very interestingly, I had, as I was introduced, I have just done a short course in London. So during that course, the professors, they advised us to go and take a look at this store called Primark, or Primark, P-R-I-M-A-R-K, which brings out any number of seasons, more than 20 seasons per year, and clothes are dirt cheap. So I went, not to buy, but just to take a look at the prices. T-shirts are available for £2, which is less than 200 rupees. A pound being 98 rupees, less than 200 rupees. Now, if I have bought a T-shirt for 200 rupees, I don't mind if I just wear it once and I throw it out, or I give it to my maid's daughter, or I use it as pocha. If I had spent 2,000 on a T-shirt, yes, then it would be more valuable, and I would try to make it last for a much longer time. So that is early disposal. Now this brings us to I'll take up these impacts separately. So the social impacts of the fashion industry. Sweatshops and the race to the bottom. So what is race to the bottom? As I said that there are so many of these companies, Boohoo, Primark, Shein, S-H-E-I-N, I don't know how to pronounce it, H&M. They are all competing with each other, and they are bringing out so many clothes every year. So what do? They have to sell it cheaper than their competitor. And so this is driving the prices lower and lower and lower, which is what is race to the bottom implies. And this is seen in sweatshops around the world. Sweatshops are factories where garments are made and where abominably shameful, horrendous working conditions exist. So Western brands, they all want to come to countries like India, Pakistan, Colombia, Cambodia, Myanmar. And why are they coming here? Because here labor is cheap, and there is lack of unionization. Laws are very lax, and less than 10% of the garment factories in Bangladesh have unions. Can you imagine? imagine the number of workers who are employed in these factories, and there are no unions. And people who want to unionize, they have been beaten up, they have been locked up in the factories, and since this creates a very dangerous kind of environment for the other workers, then the other workers also don't go against those who want to unionize. And governments, it's been seen in Cambodia. Cambodia has specialized economic zones where human rights and labor rights, these are suspended, and they are allowed to hold extremely low wages so that they can attract businesses, and boost the local economy. So governments themselves have been known to hold down wages and avoid labor laws so that these factories can attract business. So what does all this lead to? What does who makes my clothes? If I try to look at that, then it's a very scary picture, because there is modern slavery and human trafficking. Modern slavery. So now UK, European countries, America, they're all talking about not slavery but modern slavery. And what is this modern slavery? So if you try to apply for a job anywhere in UK or abroad, you will see the recruitment page. It has a link called modern slavery, and that modern slavery, we do not support modern slavery. We are against modern slavery. So what is modern slavery? Basically, it is people being slavery that is being seen today, as opposed to slavery where the Africans were made slaves in the US. So this is modern slavery. That is people who are held in bonded labor in these factories. They are not allowed toilet breaks. They are not allowed food breaks. They work for extremely long hours. They are paid very less, and there's a lot of illness. Dangerous fumes. People are fainting because of these dangerous fumes. So that is modern slavery, and there is human trafficking. So people are being attracted, into these businesses which are made to seem very lucrative, but then once they are in, there is no escape. So in 2016, H&M, Next, and Esprit had it was found that there were Syrian what's the word for people who immigrants, refugees, yes, Syrian refugees, children who were working in they were embroidering, they were stitching, they were lugging around packages of clothes, and in their Turkey factory, the factory that they were running in Turkey, there is child labor. So children are forced to work in these kind of conditions, and the families also have no option because they are so poor and the wages are so less. There is subcontracting. So the contractor, Levi's knows that contractor A has been employed by me, and contractor A is sitting in Cambodia, and contractor A has to make clothes and supply to Levi's. But who contractor A is subcontracting the work to is unknown to Levi's. And those are the ones who are employing home workers, paying them very less, and they are very difficult to trace. For this poverty and ill health, I was reading about this woman worker in Sri Lanka who was extremely poor because her wages were abominably low, and she had a toothache, so she needed to go to a dentist, but she didn't have enough money for a dental appointment. So she became a sex worker. So she took a loan to get her tooth removed, and then she could not pay off the loan. So she was forced to become a sex worker to earn enough to pay off her loan. So it's a vicious cycle that these people get into, and there is no escape. The wages are as low as $3.43 per day, which is like less than 280 rupees per day for extremely long hours. Why? Because there is forced overtime. There is gender-based discrimination. More than 80% of workers in factories are women. And obviously there are deplorable working conditions, no safety, health and safety considerations, there is faulty wiring, the buildings are crumbling, most of the buildings don't have permits. So talking of wages, if we look at a T-shirt and if you know how much of the price of the division, how the price of the T-shirt is divided. If it is a T-shirt worth 29 euros, so 59% of that, 17 euros सीधे चला जाता है retailer को. So the retailer takes major chunk of it. Then 3.61 euro is profit to the brand, the Levi's or whoever the brand is. Material cost is 12%. After all of this, pay to the worker is only 18 cents.